Hello and welcome our beloved viewers to RTD's News English Edition. As usual, we'll begin tonight's news with the major and top highlights. The President of the Republic receives the President of the Somali region of Jubaland. And the closing of the 2023 Ijtima Annual Religious Conference in Djibouti. And on the international scene, a plane crashes with 72 people on board in Nepal. Those were the major and top highlights. Welcome back to our newsroom, our beloved viewers. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Umar Ghali, received this morning at the Palace of the Republic the President of the Somali region of Jubaland, Mr. Ahmad Muhammad Islam, at the head of an important delegation of his administration. The audience between the President of the Republic and the President of the Somali region of Jubaland served as a framework to make an overview of the relations of exchange and cooperation that exist between the Republic of Djibouti with the brotherly country of Somalia, in particular with the Somali regions, including the region of Jubaland. The measures to endorse partnerships and exchange in the field of economy, port logistics, and trade are among other topics in themes addressed during this audience of the President of the Republic. Gathered to the President of the Somali region of Jubaland access to the sea. The region of Jubaland shares several points in common with the Republic of Djibouti, which is indeed intended to serve as a benchmark and inspiration. Jubaland holds a coastal region in the legitimate determination of this locality to evolve also in logistical and port hub. During his audience with the President of the Republic, the President of the Somali region of Jubaland was accompanied by the several senior officials of the region of Jubaland, including the Minister of Economy of Jubaland, Mr. Abdi Wahab Ahmad Usman, the Minister of Finance, Mr. Hussein Hirsi Ahmad, the Minister of Security, as well as the Prosecutor of Jubaland, Mr. Ahmad Haji Adam, and the Director of the Port of the region of Jubaland. On the Djiboutian side, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Mr. Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, the Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmad Roble Abdillah, the Minister of Trade and Tourism, Mr. Mohammed Warsamadiri, and the Secretary General of the Presidency, Mr. Mohammed Abdullahi Wa'is, the Head of Affairs of the Embassy of Djibouti and Somalia, Mr. Mohammed Ibrahim Yusuf, and the Director General of the Container Terminal Port of Dorali of Djibouti, Mr. Abdullahi Addawi Siga, took part in this audience. The Minister of Trade of Jubaland, Minister of Economy of Jubaland, Mr. Abdi Wahab Ahmad Usman, attended the meeting between the President of the Djibouti, Mr. Ismail Umar Ghelle, and the President of the region, and the delegation led by the President of the Somali region of Jubaland, Mr. Ahmad Muhammad Islam, at the head of an important delegation of his administration. The Minister of Economy of Jubaland thanked the government of Djibouti and the people of Djibouti for the warm welcome given to the delegation of the region of Jubaland, led by its President. The Minister recalled the relations between the two parties, as well as the strengthening of the multifaceted cooperation in trade and development. The two parties discussed the security issues in the maritime regions of Jubaland. He also affirmed the excellent relationship between Djibouti and the Federal Republic of Somalia, especially with the regions of Jubaland located in the south of Somalia. The Minister of Trade and Tourism, Mr. Mohammed Warsama, had a high-level meeting with the delegation led by the President of the Somali region of Jubaland, Mr. Ahmad Muhammad Islam. The discussions were frank and intense and focused on political and security issues and the development of trade between the two parties. Djibouti and Jubaland had many geographical similarities with maritime facets. The Republic of Djibouti has great expertise in the development and management of port infrastructure. The region of Jubaland wishes to benefit from these experiences in this field, concluded the Minister of Trade of Djibouti, Mr. Mohammed Warsama. The Great Religious Conference, most known as Al-Ijtima, closed this morning with the collective du'as of invocations and prayer. This annual rally organized during 3 days in Biki 23 to gather dozens of fielders from the capitals of the country's region, but also from other continents as Asia and Europe. In fact, after the capitals, Markaz could not accommodate the growing number of participants. The Ijtima was relocated to a present site of Biki 23 in the regions of Arta. This religious conference, or Ijtima, is intended to educate the faithful on the good practices and fixes, or objectives to synthesize on the values of our holy religion Islam, which promotes harmony, tolerance, respect between the faithful. It must be said that, as usual, the conference headquarters was very busy with constant shuttles between the capital and Biki 23. Some people stayed on site to attend the religious conference during 3 days. Others arrived in the evening and to not miss the collective du'as that closes the conference of Ijtima. The second stage of the government's tour on the occasion of the National Solidarity Week organized by the Ministry of Social Affairs and Solidarity in the regions. The Prime Minister, His Excellency Mr. Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, was this morning in the region of Ali Sabih and in particular at the Regional Council of Ali Sabih, where a meeting of exchange and consultation with the local population was held. The Minister of Social Affairs and Solidarity, Mrs. Ulufa Ismail Abdo, welcomed the Prime Minister in the company of the Prefect of Ali Sabih region, Mr. Musa Adam Migani, the President of the Regional Council, Mr. Sharmanke Hassan Alali, deputies and elected officials of the region. The Ministry of Social Affairs and Solidarity has started the second stage of its tour in the regions on the occasions of the National Solidarity Week, handing the delegation the Minister Mrs. Ulufa Ismail Abdo, accompanied by the Secretary General of UNFD, Madam Fatuma Musa, the Secretary General of the Ministry of Energy, Mr. Mohammed, and the President of the Regional Council of Ali Sabih, Mr. Sharmanke Hassan Alali, partners, as well as departmental executives, were warmly welcomed by the Sub-Prefect of AliADI and deputies, as well as elected officials of the region. The objective of the visit to AliADI was, among other things, to lay the foundation stone for the extension of the AliADI solar power plant. The solar power plant of AliADI is the first to be installed in the Republic of Djibouti in a series of alternative energy ecosystems set up by the government to improve the access for energy for local areas not served by the ADD network. This extension will increase the power of the plant from 60 kilowatts peak to 350 kilowatts peak. If the solar electrification of AliADI benefits above all households to improve their daily lives and affect several sectors, the available electricity will allow to improve the conditions of care and conservation of medicines, to improve the study conditions of the pupils, of more gradually the lighting of the schools. The institutional setting in which the power plant, a framework project financed by the World Bank, was created, reflects this cross-cutting nature of government policy. The Ministry of Energy in charge of National Resources, which prepares and implements the government's energy policy. The Ministry of Social Affairs and Solidarity, which is responsible for implementing the poverty reduction policy, is the supervisory institution for the execution of the work. In her speech, the Minister of Social Affairs and Solidarity, Mrs. Ulufa Ismail Abdo, spoke about the projects allocated to the district of AliADI, which are implemented by her ministerial department. On the sidelines of the stone laying at the solar power plant of AliADI, the delegation was then able to visit stones supported by ADDS in the framework of empowerment through income-generating activities, through self-help and affinity groups. Then the delegation went to the bilingual school of AliADI to see the achievements of ADDS, especially in the renovation and construction of the schools. At the end of the visit, the delegation went to the Antino of the National Union of Djiboutian Women for a session of exchange and discussions with the community. The Minister, Mrs. Ulufa Ismail Abdo, was able to expose the achievements of the ministry in the sub-prefecture of AliADI. Let's follow the images. The Minister of Energy in charge of Natural Resources, Mr. Yunus Ali Gidi, took part from Saturday 14 to Sunday, January 15, in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates, in the work of the 13th session of the Assembly of the International Renewable Energy. Indeed, the head of a delegation composed of the Ambassador of the Republic of Djibouti to the United Arab Emirates and Permanent Representative to INA, Mr. Musa Muhammad Ahmad, his technical advisor, Mr. Mahdi Wabari Hassan, the Director of Energy, Mr. Guled Mohammed Jama, the said assembly, which brought together ministerial delegations from more than 168 countries from around the world, global energy decision makers, leaders of multilateral international organizations, representatives of international financial institutions, as well as stakeholders and private actors. Highlighted concrete actions undertaken in the field of energy transition in countries, region, and in the world. Speaking on the topic on the agenda this meeting, the Minister of Energy and Natural Resources, Mr. Yunus AliADI, made a speech where he drew up a balanced sheet of achievements in energy transition in our country, emphasizing the major energy projects driven under the leadership of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Gelle, and indicating the objectives pursued. The Minister of Youth and Culture, Her Excellency Dr. Hibu Mu'min Asawi, is making an official working visit from 11 to 15 January 2023 to the city of Rabat in the Kingdom of Morocco. This visit is part of strengthening of political cooperation in the field of youth and culture, accompanied by a strong delegation composed of His Excellency Mr. Mohammed Duher Hersi, Ambassador of the Republic of Djibouti to the Kingdom of Morocco, and his advisor Mr. Fayak Musa, Mr.
The
Ahmad.
Minister of Youth and Culture, Dr. Hibo Mumin Asowe, is making official working visit from January 11 to 15, 2023 in the city of Rabat in the Kingdom of Morocco. This visit is part of the strengthening of bilateral cooperation in the field of youth and culture, accompanied by a strong delegation composed of His Excellency Mohammed Duhur, Ambassador of the Republic of Djibouti to the Kingdom of Morocco, and his advisor, Mr. Faik Musa, and Ahmed Mohammed Ibrahim, Technical Advisor to the Minister and Director of Project and Planning. During this official visit, the Minister, Dr. Hibo Mumin Asowe, was received by his Moroccan counterpart, His Excellency Mr. Mohammed Mahdi, the Minister of Youth and Culture and Communication. The two ministers discussed about ways and means to strengthen relation in the cultural, artistic, and youth files. They also highlighted the main achievement of two countries, particularly in terms of protection, preservation, and enhancement of cultural heritage through the mechanisms. Aware of the importance of mutual cooperation and coordination, the two ministers signed a cooperation agreement comprising the two components, youth and culture, the objective of which is to encourage partnership and the exchange of experience and practice between the two countries.
The Chinese community of Djibouti celebrated this Saturday, January 14, 2023. It's Chinese New Year 2023, which will begin on January 22, according to the Chinese meteorological calendar. The MENFOP, in collaboration with the Chinese Embassy in Djibouti, celebrated this spring festival named Year of the Rabbit. The Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmad Robli Abdili, the Chinese Ambassador to Djibouti, Hu Bin, and the Secretary General of MENFOP, Mohammed Abdullah Mahyoub, sponsored the ceremony. Among them, Muna Ismail Abdo and Roda Mahmoud Isa, respectively Inspector General of Education and Director General of Equipen, as well as Mr. Abdi Direr Gire, Director General of Education. The Chinese community established in Djibouti are strongly participated in the delegation. At the end of the official speeches, gifts and prizes were given to the winners of different cultural, artistic, and sports competitions organized within the framework of this beautiful festival. This has aroused great enthusiasm among students and teachers who took part in the competitions. The Chinese ambassador to Djibouti, Mr. Hu Bin, expressed his pride and said he was honored by this beautiful festival celebrated in a beautiful setting in a good atmosphere. It was an opportunity for him to pay tribute to MENFOP and more generally to the government and people of Djibouti for their beautiful friendship with the people of the People's Republic of China. He called for the strengthening of ties of friendship and cooperation between the two sister republics. For his part, the Secretary General of MENFOP, Mr. Mohammed Abdullah Mahyoub, spoke on behalf of the Minister, Mustafa Mohammed Mahmoud, to reaffirm the enthusiasm and pride of celebrating for the first time the Spring Festival, which marks the Chinese New Year. And this thanks to the efforts of Confucius Institute, which brilliantly prepared this wonderful celebration of the Chinese New Year. He thanked the two directors, Chinese and Djiboutian, of the Confucius Institute of Djibouti and congratulated the students who are quickly learning the Chinese language and whose results are already very good after 5 months of teaching. Mr. Mohammed Abdullah Mahyoub finally congratulated the winners of the drawing outset organized in the framework of the festival. The Ministry of Health, in collaboration with the Islands of Avoidable Blindness, organized a surgical campaign against cataract from January 8 to 12 at the Regional Hospital of Ali Sabeh. Let's listen.
Minister of Health, in collaboration with the Alliance for Fight Against Avoidable Blindness, organized a surgical campaign against character from January 8 to 12 at Ali Sabeh region. It should be noted that a similar campaign to save the sight of hundreds of elderly people will take place in the capital and in all regions of the interior of the country. It receives financial support from the Islamic Solidarity Fund for Development. It is implemented within the framework of National Program for Fight Against Total Blindness in Djibouti. With this in mind, hundreds of elderly people of all kinds have benefited from the service of the team Dr. Isa Abdi Bokore, ophthalmologist from the Ministry of Health. To this end, a delegation led by the prefect of the region of Ali Sabih, Musa Adam Migene, during this character surgery campaign, more than 150 old men and women underwent this operation. Each year, the Ministry of Health implements a similar campaign which allows many elderly people to regain their sight and at the same time to regain their health.
Under the aegis of the Secretary of State in charge of sports, the Djiboutian Tennis Federation, in collaboration with the Djiboutian Association Friendship for Development, officially launched an open day at the King Fahad complex. This day aimed to discover tennis for the first time to young people who have not had the opportunity to practice it. It aimed to promote tennis and to raise awareness among young people. 100 young people, girls and boys in schools and out of school from the town of Balbala have benefited and received the technical basis of the discipline. This action is part of an ambitious program of popularization and promotion of tennis in the Republic of Djibouti. It will include a technical training component for instructors and the establishment of branches in each town of the regions. The Djibouti Tennis Federation has also granted a lot of equipment consisting of rackets, ITF balls, and materials for the making of the court. The King Fahad complex to make this project operational. This day saw the participation of the president of the Djiboutian Tennis Federation and all his technical staff, representatives of the SES, and officials of the King of Fahad complex. We have just learned with deep sadness and dismay the death of the late Yusuf, Ahmad Yusuf, artist, performer, and composer of the Djiboutian music. The death occurred on Saturday morning around 5 a.m. following a long illness. The deceased Yusuf Ahmad Yusuf was well known and respected in the artistic community and in his private life. And born in December 1948, he devoted his life to the service of his country, lending his unique and melodious voices to all moments, political or otherwise. The entire nation mourns the loss of an accomplished artist, brilliant in his generosity and humility. The deceased was the younger brother of our colleague and journalist, French news presenter Ahmad Yusuf. The late Ahmad Yusuf was a family man. He leaves behind 4 children. Upon learning of this painful death, the management and staff of the RTD, as well as all Djiboutian artists, sent their sincerest condolences to his family, friends, and relatives, as well as to our colleague Ahmad Yusuf. They all pray to the Almighty and Merciful to have mercy on his soul and to welcome him in his eternal paradise. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Moving towards the international scene now, a plane with 72 people on board crashed in Nepal on Sunday. A local official and spokesman for Yeti Airlines said, adding that they did not know if there were any survivors. Let's listen.
A plane with 72 people on board crashed in Nepal on Sunday, a local official and Yeti Airlines spokesperson said, adding that they did not know if there are any survivors. There are 68 passengers on board and 4 crew members. Help is on the way. We don't currently know if there are any survivors in this aircraft, said. The plane crashed between the old and new airport in central Nepal. The cabin was on fire and rescuers were trying to put out of the blaze, local official said on Sunday. Rescuers have already arrived on the spot and are trying to put out the fire, added the newspaper, adding also that they were focused on the first side, the fires, and on rescuing the passenger. Nepalese airline industry has boomed in recent years, fearing goods and people to reach areas as well as the trekkers and foreign mountaineers, but it suffered from a lack of safety due to the insufficient training and maintenance.
Well, by this, our blood viewers, we finally conclude this edition. Thank you for being with us and make sure to tune in later for more. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you once again.